And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I'm talking with Dante Royster. Dante, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you are welcome. It's the least I could do. Dante is one of our clients. He is a #1 Amazon best-selling author of The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. And Dante helps people find the right mortgage for their home. And when he came to us and started unpacking what he did and how he did it, we think, wow, this is different than just shopping for the lowest rate. And we'll talk about that too. But tell us, Dante, as we get into this whole conversation, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Really, it's a kind of an interesting story. I was really right out of college, and I was an athlete in college, and decided, my career was done, and I wanted to, basically be a helpful hand. I wanted to be a resource to my friends that were still going to continue to, play basketball overseas or play basketball in the NBA, and I wanted to be, so I was really going the direction of like a financial advisor. So I wanted to be a financial advisor, and I remember I went to American Express, and they had this test that you had to take, and when I took the test, it just took so long for them to like get back to me that I ended up like I need to find a job, and I stumbled upon a company and Town and Country Credit, and I got into the mortgage business. And funny part was I didn't even know what a mortgage was at the time. I mean, it's just not a conversation that was, discussed at the dinner table with, mom and dad or anything like
For
that.
sure.
So, I was like, "What is it?" And met a gentleman that was my manager, and he basically like, "I'll teach you everything, if you can get people on the phone." And that's how really I started to cut my teeth in this business.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. We don't talk about our mortgage at the dinner table very often. We talk about a lot of other things, and it's really sad because most of us deal with mortgages multiple times in our lives, and it's going to be a part of our children's lives and things. And to have a good understanding of how do you find a good mortgage, and a lot of people, as you know, I was in real estate for years. I sold real estate. I mean, decades ago. First question: what's the rate?
Right.
Let's talk about that. Let's shoot that elephant, right? Because that's the one that everybody says. Let's talk about rates on mortgages and the pros and cons, or does it even matter as you're looking to secure the best mortgage?
I think, I mean, overall, it doesn't matter, right? That's the short answer. I think it does play a role to what your overall payment is. And I think that's the focal point, right? We want to know, what is our payment? What are we going to be paying per month? I think overall, when you look at things, we all have short-term goals, mid-term level goals. Mid-term would be more 3 to 5 years, short-term 1 to 3, and then obviously longer goals. And I think if we focus on our goals of what are we trying to accomplish, and then we can kind of create a budget around what we're trying to accomplish, that's ultimately what we're gunning for. That's what we're trying to do. I think it's just important as far as what is a good mortgage is, what is your goal? Are you trying to do renovation to your house? Are you trying to get cash out? I've helped customers, pay tuitions for colleges. So there's a lot of different ways to use a mortgage to be effective, and that's really what I try to focus on.
Yeah, and that's really, really good because those two aspects right there, not just buying a home, that's one aspect, but if you're renovating your own home, or maybe, and I love talking about, I mean, maybe if you're going to buy a rental property as an investment, maybe you could do that. But getting cash out to do other things that you want to do, you a lot of people have access to capital that's locked in their house. There are ways to extract that, but
Right.
there are so many things that Dante brings to the table. So let's unpack just a few of those, because I think so many times people say, "Well, I'm not buying a house. I don't need to understand this."
Exactly. I mean, buying a house first and foremost, to me, it's just paramount. I mean, I wouldn't be at Epic Mortgage today if I didn't have a house, to, like you just said, extract money from and to create something that I wanted to have. Not every time a bank is willing to give you any type of business loan or personal loan on an idea. They want to see some proven track record. And sometimes, the best ideas, there is no proven track record. It's just your hard work, your dedication, your belief in yourself that you can accomplish anything. And so, having a house is an asset. And really, seeing what the things you could do with the asset, will maybe change your whole opinion on should I buy this house.
Yeah, and that's really good because it is an asset that you need to understand. Because I mean, I come from the world of you pay your house off and woohoo, I remember my parents paying their house off and burning the mortgage. I mean, that was the whole thing.
Right.
And that was the mindset, and I'm not saying that's wrong to do, but
No.
it may not align with your goals, and if you have access to capital and you wanna start a business or something, wow, maybe I can get money easier this way, or is that kinda what you're talking about?
Exactly. It really creates a freedom of, obtaining your goals are can be obtained first and foremost. You can actually achieve your goals. You don't always have to go directly, to the bank and ask for a business loan. You might have the assets that you need just right in your house. And so that's why I just believe, it's so important to be a homeowner. I just read a stat: 66% of all United States, consumers are homeowners. So, I
Mm.
mean, we can get more people to own a home than we can to vote for the president. You know what I mean? So that's just how much of a belief we have in home ownership.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk, as my dad used to say, brass tacks. Not sure what that means really or where it came from, but I know what it means. Let's talk about, okay, somebody's thinking about buying a house. They're thinking about maybe pulling money out of a house, or they have some use for this. They need a mortgage. And usually what people do, as I just talk with people, is they just go to the internet and say, what are mortgage rates or something? Talk about what is the right process? How do you work with people? What should they be thinking about as they just embark on this whole journey?
I like to think of myself as a guidance counselor. I'm here to guide you along the path to getting to your end goal of what you're trying to strive for. So I think it's always important you want to work with someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that you trust, someone that is looking out for your best intentions. I think that's first and foremost. Sometimes when you just go on, like you said, on the internet and, a random person is calling you, you don't know who that person is, what their intentions are, and so that will always make you feel a little like combative because you're trying to be protective of yourself, of your assets, and in your personal information, which is obviously very important.
Oh yeah.
So I think you want to definitely work with someone that you know and trust and feel comfortable with. And then you do have to take steps, obviously, right? So, one thing, in the mortgage space, we're reviewing credit. Credit is going to dictate products and programs that are available to you.
Mhm.
The thing about being a regional mortgage broker like myself is I really have all the products out there. And sometimes what people do is, well, I'll just go to my bank. I trust them. But that bank, great bank, but they just don't offer all the products because they're risk averse. So they're not going to feature maybe renovation loans. They may not feature, higher cash out situations because they want you to fit in their box, in their mold. And so what I am able to do is say, hey, no, I'll shop around on your behalf. Work right now with about 36 different lenders across the country, and they offer a variety of products. And then we can find, basically just saying, hey, not one size is going to fit everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone has a unique situation, unique story, unique scenario, and you need to have, just a variety of options. And
Yeah.
that's what we provide.
Yeah, and that's really cool, and I hope people get that. If not, go back and listen to it. 36 different lenders across the country that he works with, and each one of those lenders probably has a dozen different programs. And so what Dante's able to do is understand, what are you trying to make happen, right? What do you have to work with? What is your credit score? And maybe you have to bump it up a bit, or maybe there's a program. But he can then bring back to you to go, okay, here are 3 or 4 options. Let's talk about options instead of saying, hey, your rate is this, because the rate, yeah, it does have a bearing, but there are ways to buy down the rate and there are ways to achieve what I'm wanting to do. And sometimes if you're pulling money out short term, the rate's almost irrelevant at one level, right? And so it comes back to building relationships with somebody that you trust to go, hey, Dante, here's what I'm thinking about doing. Does it make sense? Do,
Exactly.
yeah. Is
No,
that,
exactly. I mean, at this point in time, I have 21 years of experience. So, and to mention, I've helped, over 1,000 people, in my timeline. So, it just gives me that much wherewithal to like, I've seen that story before. I know what you're trying to do. I have, obviously relationships and resources that I can provide. I've dealt with multiple attorneys, financial advisors. So I've learned throughout the way as just as I go throughout my life. I've learned things that, I try to pass on to my clients as well.
yeah. And that's that knowledge base that's inside of his noggin is really, really important, because in the moving economy that we're in today, I mean, it's volatile at times, and having the right mortgage is so important, especially if you're thinking long term. And you're looking at this now. Americans, we typically move about what, every 5 to 7 years or something like that. And I've always wondered, why don't we use the same people to do that? We usually try to use the same realtor. We should be using the same um, mortgage person as best we can. Now, I know there are licenses and things, but you're a regional mortgage broker. Unpack, what does that mean in like layman's terms?
Sure, exactly. So, currently to date, I can help anyone on an investment property. I can help out in 47 different states. So I can help most people that if they're looking to buy an investment property, really across the country. Now, if they're looking to buy a primary residence, I can help people in about 9 states currently as it states right now. So with those 9 states, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and Virginia and Maryland, that gives me a variety of ability to help people in a lot of different situations.
Yeah. Which is so some people look at that and go, okay, so what does that mean? It means that if you're moving from Indiana to Virginia, Dante can help you. You don't have to
Correct.
find some unknown person to go whatever. Um, he's got a bandwidth there. Or if you want to finally go buy that home in the mountains of Colorado, you got a guy. And so he has breadth of ability across the nation, but even more than that, he has depth. 21 years of doing this. You've probably seen some changes throughout time, just
That's
in
an understatement.
just in how it all works, right?
Sure. I mean,
So
obviously, if you unpack that just from a 2002 standpoint, I mean, we just got done with the dot com bubble. We had the real estate collapse in '07, '08. Obviously, the pandemic that we just went through. So I've definitely seen a lot of twists and turns.
yeah, and this is a totally out of the blue, right? But think about twists and turns. Think about all those crashes. If you have a relationship with your mortgage person versus somebody you just went online and found a mortgage and yippee skippy. If something happens in life and maybe you get laid off, maybe something, is it possible to come back to you, Dante, and say, hey, dude, here's what's going on in life? Can you go back to the mortgage company? Is there another way is there a way you can kind of help people walk through kind of the valley of the shadow of death if something wacky happens in life?
Definitely. And normally, we use the changes in your life as a great time to call me. If you think about it, it's the death in the family, it's the divorce, it's the diapers, it's the baby, it's the marriage, it's the diamond ring, so to speak. It's the change of jobs. Those are just definitely situations because sometimes, like you just said, some people are like, well, how frequently should I call them or should I call them? Obviously, it's my job to call you and keep you abreast of what changes are being made in the market that may benefit you. But at the same time, if a change occurs in your life, that's a great time to have a conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the 3D approach: diapers, divorce, and death. Let's hope not. Let's hope people don't go through all three of those, right?
True.
But those are times because you have diapers. Guess what? We're probably going to need a bigger house. That's
Right.
the time to reach out and say, okay, probably in the next year and a half. Okay. And I think, Dante, a lot of people think, well, that's a waste of your time, Dante. I'm not going to bother you. And I imagine you would say, yeah, don't call me, right?
Correct. You could be further from the truth. I mean, really any of those changes, any of those situations that occur, I want the phone call. I want to, maybe I know someone, maybe I can point you in the right direction just because I'm just inundated with talking to people. I mean, that's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing about death, it's interesting, estates. So many times parents are dying and the children are inheriting a property or properties. What do we do with this thing? As weird as that sounds, that might be a really good time to call Dante.
I've done that quite often, more times than I would want to count. But yeah, I mean, just recently helped a lady out where she was the benefactor of a trust. Her mom passed away, and she decided she wanted to buy that property. I mean, so that those situations occur, and that's where I'm here to help.
Yeah. And that goes back to the initial thing that we talked about is it's not about the rate, it's about what are you trying to make happen? How do you secure that right mortgage? And giving options to your clients is super helpful. Um, I've got a friend of mine. They're getting ready to buy another house and transitioning here in Little Rock, and I was talking to him, and he's like, "Well, no, yeah, but the issue is I'm a veteran, so I've got the VA thing." And I'm like, "Totally forgot about that. I'm not a veteran, so I don't get all those lovely benefits, right?"
Right.
I think Dante probably understands the VA and all of the benefits that run around there, but there are a lot of good programs and unpack, I guess, programs because you and I know what it means, but not everybody understands it. We just think it's a mortgage tied to a bank or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, basically, you have like a FHA loan, which is geared for first-time home buyers. It's under the Federal Housing Administration. Underneath that program of FHA, there's hundreds of different programs that can help. With renovation loans, streamlines, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously VA. VA is probably one of the strongest, if not the best program out there for all veterans. I mean, we take care of our veterans. There's no money down. There's no PMI. We try to make it as affordable as possible for those veterans. There's conventional loans, there's USDA loans for people that live out in the rural areas. There's, we incentivize people for those situations as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of different programs out there that, that's my job to kind of see where you fit, ask those necessary questions, and, try to point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's so good because you just listed a bunch of things that most people don't even think of. If they're thinking about buying a house of some nature, they're just looking online for a mortgage or whatever, and they're just so focused on rate when they may forget that, oh yeah, I served 4 years right out of high school, but that was 10 years ago. But I've never used the benefits. And one question for Dante could radically impact how you go and approach securing your mortgage, right? And
Exactly.
that's the beauty of having somebody like Dante as a resource, a guide when you're thinking about a mortgage. Whether it's and I didn't I if I love that you brought up investments because most people when they think mortgage they think primary residence.
Sure.
But there are programs out there, right? I give this counsel to a lot of young people, and it might be wrong, but I say, you think you should think about maybe buying a duplex or a triplex. You live in one, rent out the other two, they pay for your mortgage, and their mind kind of explodes. But is that a primary or is that a investment? I don't know because I'm not a mortgage guy.
No, definitely, it's really both, but, in the eyes of a lender, that's considered a primary, and it's a great opportunity, that we try to encourage a lot of first-time home buyers to take. If they could buy that duplex or the triplex or even a quadplex, which is a four-unit building, and get that cash flow going. One of the things I love about that option is that once they get the property, they actually live in it for at least a year or so. So then they know the grounds, they know how things work, they have a feel of the neighborhood, the situation. So when they're able to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to move on and go somewhere else," they have just more knowledge and wherewithal of the building itself. So when someone comes in and has complaints or issues, you have an understanding like, is that far fetched or is that real? Because you lived there, you have a better feeling for the building.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And it's just a great way to begin. If you have any interest in investing in real estate, that's a great way to begin. But so many times we think, well, that's a commercial investment or whatever, and therefore I've got to come up with 70% down. I can't afford that, and that's why you have to talk to Dante and go, here's what I'm trying to do. What do you think? What and Dante's able to search all these companies programs and go, "Well, here's some options. Here's what I would do, right? And you present the options and educate. And that's you went all the way back to the beginning. You're a guide. You're a guidance counselor in an area that is really like a rat maze because I mean, good golly, it's confusing,
It
and,
is.
and there's so many changes.
Oh, definitely. And even to piggyback on what you're saying right there, just even like when they go back to that question of what's your rate, I mean, there's so many different, there's probably about seven different levels of adjustments to the rate based upon program, product, what's your LTV, DTI, all these, words and like what does that mean? I mean, so there's a lot of things that affect what your overall interest rate is. And that's why we focus on the goal in hand. Can we achieve the goal? And like you said, rates fluctuate every day based on the market, based on the ups and downs. So, we can always look to refinance, change the rate later, but, get you what you're looking for up front.
Yeah. And let me just put a shameless plug in for your book, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. I know it's on Amazon because what he just explained is very basic knowledge for Dante, but it's all laid out in his book. It's kind of like a beginner's guide, honestly, of how to secure the best mortgage, not just the best rate. But if you go look at The Ultimate Mortgage Guide, it's really a simple read, Dante. You did a great job in bringing this down to my level and everybody else's to read it to go, okay, I understand the basic terminology. I understand what I should be looking for. And then obviously the next step is to call Dante and have those conversations. But your book, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide, is really just a simple to understand guidebook around all things mortgages. So I just want to put that plug in there because it's really good. You did well.
Thank you very much. And then really, that was the reason for the book. That obviously having 21 years of experience, it was just a situation. It was time. It was time to let people know. And like you said, these are common questions that people have every time. And so I look around, just the field, and I recognize that there's just not a book out there that really breaks this stuff down. And so I wanted to be the first one to step up and hopefully diffuse some of the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And step up you did. Dante Royster, Amazon bestselling author of The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. You can find that on Amazon, maybe at your website. So what I want to do is wrap this up because I've got a list of questions here that we're not going to get to today. But that's okay. A lot of them are covered in your book, actually. So how do people get a hold of you? What's the easiest, bestest way for somebody to go, that was really intriguing. I want to reach out and talk to this guy. What do they do?
Really social media. I mean, obviously you can go to the website, www.epic.mortgage. You can look me up, Dante Royster. I'm on, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. So I'm not a hard guy not to find. So just, reach out to me and we can take it from there.
That's awesome. And you can tell, just super personal, really caring, been doing this for a long time. He's like a walking encyclopedia when it comes to mortgages, which is very cool. It's the type of guy you want on your side. You want him on your team as you're navigating this. So don't wait till the very end and say, hey, Dante, I just put an offer on a house. I need a mortgage. You can do that. It's better to say, hey, Dante, I'm thinking about moving. What do I need to be thinking about, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we always want to set plans, right? We have the tagline, it's your dreams, your goals, let's plan together. So give me time to plan it out and we can make it happen.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, reach out to Dante Royster. Find him on social media. I'm going to grab some of those links and put them in the show notes so that you know where to find him, how to connect with him, and grab a copy of his book. You can get it on Amazon. It's The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. And it's a phenomenal read, very, very helpful. And if you may or may not need it, but think about this. If you're a homeowner and you've got adult children, buy a copy for them because if like my youngest son and his wife, they're living in an apartment right now. They're going to want to buy a house in a couple of years. This would be a great time for them to read that book and to be educated. So go to Amazon, grab that. But better than that, just reach out and have a conversation with Dante. Man, this has been so much fun, Dante. Thank you for just showing up. Thanks for explaining how to secure a great mortgage and some of the challenges that we face in shooting some of those elephants in the room, as I call them, of what really is important as you think about a mortgage. And I think we boiled it down to, as I would say, two things: is your goals and objectives and somebody you can trust to guide you through the process. Fair enough?
Fair enough. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome, sir. Thanks for listening to Experts Speak. We'll talk to you again next week. God bless.